Now, there are two things we need to correct here in this file before we move on. We're still inside of the shipping art.php file. First of all, down here, when we actually catching the exception and echoing the JSON method inside of the helper object, we have this array error true, and then we have validation object valid rather than underscore error messages. It has to be errors messages. And another thing up here in the else statement, the second else statement, rather than missing parameter, let's copy the same thing that's here, because obviously that's not the correct exception. Even though we're not echoing this exception anywhere, it's still obviously best to correct it to make sure that obviously it is what it actually is. Now that we are done with this art.php file, we can move to the shipping.php, which you'll find inside of the classes. If you open our shipping class and scroll down to the bottom, and after the get types method, a few new lines, and we're going to start with private function, because this method will only be used inside of this class. We won't be calling this method from outside of this class, or neither we will be extending the shipping class in the future, where this method would be used in obviously the class which is extending it. So we're going to start with the get last type, and the parameter will be local, by default null, and then we go for SQL, select, and we're looking for order from this underscore table 2, which is table types. Then we go for where local equals, and let's use an int_val again, int_val local, concatenating this with order by order, descending order, and we want to make sure that we limit this to just one record. And then we simply return this db fetch 1, and we pass in the SQL statement as parameter. Actually, we don't have to use int_val here, because we only going to be calling this method from within this class, obviously, where we will first check what parameter is sent through, so we can basically use this inside of the curly brackets rather than concatenating this whole string. So that's our get last type method. If we now scroll down, and our next method is called public function art type, the one which we've used actually inside of our art.php file. Params as parameter, null by default. Now we check if is an empty params, then we do something, otherwise we return false. First we check params local equals isn't empty, params local. If it isn't empty, then the number will be 1, otherwise it will be null, which is basically what we're going to be passing now to this get last type method. So last equals this get last type, and we're passing our params local as parameter. Now order equals isn't empty last. If it isn't empty, then we take last and order index plus 1. So we're basically incrementing this by 1. Otherwise, it's going to be the first item, obviously on the list, so the order will be 1. Now we go for params order equals order. Or we could basically do it this way, just do it straight away here rather than assign the variable later on to it. Okay, and now this db prepare insert, and we passing our params array and return this db insert, and the table is this underscore table 2. We can now save and close the file.